welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. My regular viewers will have seen me a week or so back at the British Shooting Show looking rather excited because I got my first encounter with the new Mauser 25 rifle. Well, this morning I've been to Swillington Shooting Supplies, my local gun shop, where they've got them in stock, and I have picked one up which has been sent to me by Blaser UK or Mauser, and I've got it here for the full review. So here it is in the box, and you can be here to get my first impressions just the way you like them. So the key component would appear to be the bolt. Let's get that out. What's next? We've got various things here. That's probably a sound moderator. I'll leave that in the box for now. Instructions, because it's got a Minox scope on top. We've got instructions for the rifle here as well. So let's pop it out, have a look. Now this is the Mauser 25 Max, so it's got the laminate stock and it's got the adjustable cheek piece. Right, let's get rid of this box out of the way. Back in the room. Right, so I suppose my first impression was when I actually got hold of the rifle, because what everybody wants to see is it's got a straight pull bolt, and I wanted to see how fast it was, how quick it was, all, you know, the ergonomics, just how easy it was going to be to use. And my first impressions were excellent. So let's just see. I'm not going to read any instructions. Well, that seemed quite easy, didn't it? So we've essentially got a safety catch down here, and with the safety catch set to fire, which is the red setting, that is super fast. Now this is a brand new rifle. This hasn't been worked in by hundreds of people racking the bolt on it all the time. And that is, as I said, quite possibly the lightest, fastest bolt I've ever used. Straight pull, turn bolt, anything like that. So where should we start with it? Right, let's get some tools out and have a bit quick measures and weights and things like that. I won't do the weight because it's got the scope on it, but let's do the trigger pull first. So here we are, trigger pull gauge, set this up, 554 grams, which is 1 pound 3.5 ounces. Next measurement we will look at is overall length. Overall length is 39.5 inches, which is 1000 millimeters. The barrel length would appear to be 20 inches or 510 millimeters. Length of pull, always a key thing, which is obviously usually better on German and European rifles. 14.25 inches, which is 362 millimeters or thereabouts. Next thing, that looks like, I'm going to go with a 17 millimeter barrel. Let's see what the barrel diameter is. It is 17.3 millimeter diameter barrel. Now that is screw cut. I'm presuming it's going to be a 15x1 screw cut, which is Mauser's usual technique. It's got a very neat crown on the end, and I'm looking forward to shooting this rifle because they rarely disappoint. They have sent me the moderator here, which is the Sauer Titanium Pro moderator, made in Norway. So that is 15x1 thread. Yes, it says 15x1 on there, so that will go on the rifle to use. Right, let's go some of the nitty gritty straight out of the box. The barrel has got a free float on it. Let's be aggressive with it. And that will not contact the stock when I squeeze and grip that. So that is a good start. Stud here for a sling, stud at the back for a sling. We've got some nice inlaid checkering. The stock is a laminated material and is pretty durable. I've tried M12s before and M18 Maxes, so that is that. Now, next step, magazine. That looks like maybe a 4 or 5 round magazine. I don't know, we'll have to have a look at that, or I'll have to put my reading glasses on to tell you, but that'll be part of the full review. It's a polymer magazine. It's a single column, single stack mag, which is not the same as the M12 or the M18, but it's the same sort of as Sauer rifles, and it's probably to do with the fact that it's going to give you a very straight line feed on that fast bolt action. So the trigger guard on the underside looks like it's probably polymer, certainly feels like polymer, but I don't say that's necessarily a detriment, it's just modernity. So please get hold of yourselves if you think everything has to be made of steel, because it doesn't. So that is just delightful, that bolt. It automatically comes back on your fingertips and the base of your thumb just pushes it forward. It's just ridiculously quick. I probably won't be liked by Blaser for saying this, but this seems faster than Blaser to me. Right, pop that back. Is that the bolt release switch there? So pop that down, yes. So the bolt comes out with that catch there. Lift that out. Now, I'll probably cover this more in the detailed review, but obviously the bolt runs on carriers here. We've got the rails that come on the back, and that runs into the back of the action here. So that clamps on the sides of the action, runs a bit like a rail. And the trigger here, it's actually got a separate hammer on it. So rather than being a striker, which most sporting rifles are, this one's actually got a pivoting hammer, which is, you could say, an old-fashioned way of doing it, but actually it does work equally well, and it often means you've got a bit of a firmer strike. And the other thing is, because it's completely linear in the fact that that comes back, locks down like that, you've no rotation forces, you've nothing like that like you have on a turnbolt rifle to actually set that striker and, you know, helically extend it back against its spring tension. So with it all being linear, you're not wasting energy in terms of translation of motion through 90 degrees. Now, I don't actually know how to decock this bolt and show you for real, but if we look on the ceiling camera, I'm just going to zoom this in. You can see here, there's a bolt lug on the top there and a bolt lug on the bottom here. Mauser have actually publicised how big these are in terms of the actual surface area they represent. Now, don't get me wrong, this will have been tested to the nth degree, so I'm very confident it'll be absolutely perfectly safe and reliable. So all the naysayers can immediately just go, oh no, it'll be fine. Anyway, it'll be fine. Mauser 25. So this is all steel on the sides here. That looks like a, I'm not sure if that's a polymer top to that, but I don't mind polymers at all. And it's actually been kept quite sleek. It doesn't seem too onerous or bulky. Now, the other thing I would note with it is that goes on there. I would again say that's possibly even easier than a Blaser to do that. Now, critical factor. A lot of people, and I'm going to name no names, several companies have come out with straight pull rifles in the last few years, and people have looked at a picture and gone, that looks just like a Blaser. Well, in fact, it is nothing like a Blaser. Let's be honest, I'm talking about the Beretta BRX1 versus the Blaser R8. There is no similarity whatsoever other than the fact that the bolt moves straight backwards and forwards. The mechanism, the locking, everything is different. And this, again, is different again to a Blaser. But the big problem with some straight pull rifles, I'm not going to say the Blaser in this, but I will say some others, is that you end up with an incredibly long bolt travel on them, because of course the bolt itself is hanging out the back of the action. You've got the magazine in a sort of unusual place, trigger in an unusual place, and it means that the bolt hits your face. Now, you can see my face there, can't you? Look at this. That's nowhere near hitting my face, is it? Okay, this is a short action, it's a 308 one, so we'll have to see if that is going to change on the 3006 or anything like that. But when you actually look at the stock here, you can see the adjustable cheek piece, which will pop up and down. That's got Allen fasteners there. That will come up and down, and it's only going to come up and down here, so the bolt physically can't go any further back than that, even on the longer action, if that's what they do in the future with other calibers. Now, Swillington have got these in stock. They've got this is the Max with the laminate stock and the adjustable cheek piece. There's also the synthetic, and there's also the pure. So the pure is the walnut, you know, the most traditional standard sporting walnut stock, and the synthetic is the one that's going to really stand up to the knocks, the kicks, the dust, the mud, the water, and all the rubbish that comes down from the sky and blights our days of shooting. Now, after a lot of people saw this at the show, I sort of listened around to see what the opinion was. I didn't necessarily hear anything negative said, and I actually cannot say anything negative about this at all yet myself either. Okay, I haven't shot it yet. I haven't actually operated this bolt with a fired cartridge. I haven't chambered it with an unfired cartridge. I can't tell you what that's like, but the intrinsic functionality of that mechanism and how slickly it moves is, unfortunately, I would have to say, the slickest, smoothest, straightest, fastest bolt I've ever used. Sorry, Blaser. So we shall see what it's like. Now, of course, the factors that are going to take place when it shoots. People are going to say, what's the smallest group size? Is it the most accurate in the world? Well, Blaser, Mauser, Sauer, they all use cold hammer forged barrels from similar machinery in a similar factory, and the barrels are usually pretty reliable. I'll show you the selection of ammunition I'm going to try it with in a moment. I have no doubt that that is bedded correctly into the stock. It's been fitted correctly in the inlet. It's free floating. The barrel will be good. The barrel will be strong. The gun feels, it's not a super lightweight rifle, but it's by no means a heavy rifle. Let's just weigh it. I know there's a scope on board. The scope probably weighs about 800 grams with the mount. So let's just see what that says it weighs all in to start with. 8 pound, 2 ounces. And if we go into grams on that, we've got 3,684 grams, which is by no means a super heavy rifle. Yes, it's not a super light rifle, but I think that's part of the course. And of course, having a rifle that's a little bit heavier does usually give you a little bit more stability, a little bit more rigidity in the stock, slightly larger barrel, and of course it makes it ergonomically easier to shoot well. Now, people say, which is the most accurate rifle? And there are some great accurate rifles out there, or precise rifles rather. One of the factors is some rifles are just a lot easier to shoot than others, and generally the bigger and heavier rifles with the less recoil, the physically easier it is to shoot. Transpose that across with the fact that on a sporting rifle you don't necessarily want to be carrying anything around with you which is super big, super heavy and very onerous. So I kind of like middle of the road rifles. I'm not mountain hunting, I'm not anything like that, and this will eventually be available in quite a wide range of cartridges and chamberings. So just 308 at the moment, which is of course for the last 20 years of gun shooting kind of the benchmark by which everything has been reviewed and tested and compared and contrasted. So I am really looking forward to getting this out shooting. I have only had it here for about an hour and a half. Hindsight in terms of what I experienced and what I discovered at the show was the fact that there's nothing that stands out at all that is worrying me about this rifle. I suppose the only thing you could possibly say is I do like twin collar magazines, but there is a feed and issue factor with that. That works better with 3-lug or 6-lug bolts, and this is of course effectively, there are no lugs on the bolt face itself. The bolt face is, let me just pop this back out again, just pop that out there. The bolt of course is here, so we've got a push feed bolt face and there are twin ejector pins there which obviously flick out on spring tension and throw the brass clear, and we've got an extractor claw there. So I know it doesn't hit my face. I will see now when I shoot it what the primary extraction is like, because one of the other weak links on a straight pull rifle, naming no specific names, and some of them do a much better job of this than others with some very complicated mechanisms that work beautifully. The Blaser mechanism ensures you have very good strong primary extraction, for example. Others do not necessarily. And the issue I want to really see when I'm firing it is how fast that's going to cycle with a fired case. Is the extraction and ejection going to be as easy as a turn bolt rifle? Because it's all very well saying I've got this rifle, that rifle or the other rifle, but it's all about the ergonomic interaction, especially when you've got to take a backup follow-up shot in a hunting scenario. The less you can disturb the rifle unnecessarily, it's the same as target shooting, the less you can disturb the rifle unnecessarily, the faster you'll be able to take a backup shot, the most likely you are to maintain sight picture, point of aim, things like that. Again, there's also recoil element of that too. The less the recoil, the more likely you are to be able to retain sight picture, sighted animal reaction, etc. Now, one thing that was said was that the scopes are a bit high on them, but actually I'm putting that up without the cheek piece in any kind of position at all. That doesn't feel unusual in any matter, way, shape or form at all. This has got kind of a rail mount scope on it, so I'm going to slacken that off. I'm just going to bring that back a little bit because it does just feel a little bit far forward for me, but I certainly could manage that easily. And this, the Minox scope on here, we've got an RS4, yeah, the RS4 here, which has got good eye box on it, and that's quite, you know, relaxed and easy to use, and I can get that in position. I mean, it's got a lovely crystal clear reticle, so I think that's going to shoot very nicely. So we've got a 4-end stud, excellent. I can put a Harris bipod on it. That means I can review it in my normal fashion. The moderator on the front, as we say, that will go there. So that is about that for my off-the-cuff report on what's going on here. So that's the 2.2 to 14 power, that scope, with a 50mm front end on it. It's unusual. It's a very nice sort of specification for a sporting rifle, because on a 2.2 you can actually take on moving game with a 2.2. It depends just quite how fast it is, but most of the scenarios I've been in you can use at 1.5 with a zoom scope, so that's no issue at all. Right, let's have a quick look at the ammunition. We have a selection of ammunition, some of it old, some of it new, none of it borrowed and none of it blue either, but anyway. So 308 165 grain GMX, that's the outfitter ammunition from Hornady. That's no longer, I don't think, in current production, but it's still a good bullet to use. Here we've got the 308 165 grain ECX bullet. Now the ECX is a copper bullet and it's got the more rounded tip on it on the front, which makes it a little bit less long range ballistically capable, but it's designed for the E, which is European barrels, and it's a little bit easier to stabilise, a little bit tricky to shoot, because what people forget sometimes is that all the super long high ballistic coefficient bullets aren't necessarily quite as easy to stabilise in your common or garden rifle. The next one we got here, this is a very usual often encounter bullet, 308, 150 grain SST. That is a very fast expanding, still for game animals like deer and boar as well. That's very popular ammunition in Europe, is that, for the wild boar, because it does give that instantaneous knockdown capability. And the next one in the pile we have 165 grain SST, same bullet, slightly heavier. We'll just see which one shoots best out of this rifle. And then to just finish it off, we have got some 168 grain ELD match ammunition, and that is, well, again, it's match ammunition. You're not going to use it for hunting necessarily, but it's kind of just, you know, a fifth one to try through it to give us a little bit of variety and see how this gun shoots. So I'll be shooting some groups that are to 100 metres. I'll shoot it from sticks. I might shoot it from a tripod as well, because I think that's going to clamp in a tripod clamp without any problem at all with loss of zero. Of course, that moderator on the front is just going to balance it out perfectly. And that will be the initial review project on the rifle, which I hope to do within the next 7 days. So if you do have any questions you want to specifically pose about this rifle, this operating mechanism, whether you want me to dispel any myths or any rumours that are going on, please comment on this video as quickly as you can to make sure I've seen that before I get this rifle out shooting, because today is Saturday the 22nd of February. I am going shooting with this afternoon. I might get out with it on Monday as well, and Tuesday, and possibly towards the end of the week. It all depends on the weather, because there's no point going out when it's blowing a gale if you want me to shoot small groups with it, is there? Right, I think that's about covered everything, hasn't it, for now, for the first impressions video? Or this is the second impressions video, because frankly, nothing about encountering it in my own time away from an exhibition stand and a huge hall at the NEC has surprised me at all. I am really looking forward to shooting this gun, because I think it's one of the most innovative, rewarding, and how shall I put this? I think it's going to generate a lot of interest, and I think it's going to be worthy of that interest, because there are a lot of very innovative rifles which actually, when you get down to using them, they're a bit disappointing. I've learned a lot about that kind of thing over the years, and the thing is, this one, it hasn't put any flags up saying, but watch this, but watch that. It just seems to just feel just right straight out. So yes, get those comments on, and in the meantime, like, subscribe, comment, and click that notification bell. Make sure you keep track of all the regular uploads, because I'm doing 1 or 2 videos every week, and go all the way through to the end of the video and you'll see the latest advertising for next year's British Shooting Show 2026 at the NEC in Birmingham. I will check the dates and memorise them at a later date, because I don't think anybody's going to be booking a ticket out quite yet in February 2025, are they? Right, thank you for watching. Bye for now.